Hello everyone, I am Dr. Riyazul and I warmly welcome you to another commerce lecture. If you are a student of BCom, BBA, BMS, CA Foundation, CMA, CS, MBA or preparing for UGC NET, then this lecture is especially designed for you. Today we are starting one of the most important topic in commerce, that is indirect taxes and GST. Don't worry, if you are learning GST for the first time, I will explain every concept in a simple language with practical examples so that you can understand it in a better way. By the end of this lecture, you will have a strong foundation of GST. So without wasting any time, let's get started. Before we begin, I have a small request. If you are genuinely want to learn commerce in a simple and practical manner, please press the like button right now. It takes only a second, but it really motivates me to create more quality educational video for you. And if you are visiting this channel for the first time, don't forget to subscribe and press the bell icon so that you will never miss any updates of my upcoming lecture on GST, income tax, accounting, finance, financial management, and UGC NET. Now, let's begin today's topic. Before learning any subject, we should know what we are going to achieve. After watching this lecture, you will be able to understand the meaning of tax, differentiate between direct tax and indirect tax, explain why GST is necessary or why GST was introduced, understand the evolution of GST in India, explain the meaning of GST, identify the types of GST, understand the input tax credit, tax liability, tax payable with example. These concepts are frequently asked in the university examination and competitive exam, so pay close attention. Let's begin with the most fundamental question: what is tax? So, the very simple answer is the tax is a compulsory financial contribution imposed by the government on individual and businesses. The government collects taxes to provide public services and develop the countries. For example, roads, schools, hospitals, railways, defense, police, public welfare schemes. Without tax revenues, it would impossible for the government to provide these facilities. Some common examples are income tax, GST, custom duty, property tax, etc. Always remember, tax is the primary source of government revenue. Now, the difference between direct tax and indirect tax. So, taxes broadly classified into two categories. Very first is direct tax, and the second one is indirect tax. The direct tax is paid directly by the person on whom it is imposed, whereas the indirect tax is paid by the another person on whom it is imposed. The burden of direct tax is cannot be shifted, whereas the burden of indirect tax is shifted. The direct tax is collected by the government directly, whereas indirect taxes are collected by the seller on behalf of government. The direct taxes are progressive in nature, whereas indirect taxes are regressive in nature. The examples of direct taxes are income tax and corporate tax, whereas the examples for indirect taxes are GST, custom duty, excise duty, etc. Here you can see the tax flow. The customer pays tax to the seller and seller transfer this tax to the government. Why was the GST introduced? So before GST, India's indirect system was quite complicated. Different taxes were levied by the state or central government. At central level, you can see the central excise duty, service tax, additional excise duty, CVD, SAD, etc. Whereas at the state level, we are having VAT, entry tax, luxury tax, entertainment tax, purchase tax, etc. The problem with these taxes were the multiple indirect taxes was there, which creates cascading effect, which means tax on tax. A complex tax structure was there, different tax laws in the different state, difficult for interstate transactions, higher cost of goods and services, and it's increasing the compliance burden. Therefore, the GST was introduced with these following objectives. Very first objective was the one nation, one tax. One single unified tax will be there across the India. Elimination of cascading effect on tax only on value addition. Uniform tax structure, same tax laws and the rates across the state. Ease of doing business, simplified procedures and process, improved tax compliance, simple, transparent and technology driven, increased transparency, better visibility in tax system, create a common national market which promote trade and economic growth. So in short, we can say GST was introduced to replace multiple indirect taxes with one unified tax that is simple, transparent and beneficial for business and consumers, with a tagline of one nation, one tax, better economy for all. Now, let's understand how GST came into existence. In 2003, a Kelkar task force recommended GST in India. On 2006, our finance minister Shri P. Chidambaram announced a roadmap for implementation of GST. From 2011 to 2014, various discussion and drafting was made for GST. In 2016, the Constitutional 101st Amendment Act 2016 was passed in a parliament and received the presidential assent on 8 September 2016. In the same year, on 15 September 2016, the GST Council was constituted under the Article of 279A of the Constitution. What is GST Council? So here I have explained. The GST Council is the decision-making body for GST, consisting of one chairperson who will be the Union Finance Minister. Other members are Union Ministers of State for Finance and the Finance Ministers of all the states and Union Territories. And with all these things, on 1st July 2017, GST was rolled out across the India with the tagline of One Nation, One Tax. Why this journey matters? To replace multiple indirect tax with a single unified tax, elimination of cascading effect, that is tax on tax, creating a common national market, promotion of ease of doing business and economic growth, broad transparency and efficiency in the tax system. Now, what is GST? So, GST stands for Goods and Service Tax, is a destination based value added indirect tax levied on supply of goods and services. It means the tax revenue belongs to the state where the goods or services are consumed, not where they are produced. For example, if the goods are manufactured in the state of Maharashtra, then these goods were sold to wholesaler and wholesaler sold the same goods to the retailer, and the finally retailer sold goods to consumer and the consumers are belonging to Karnataka state, then the GST revenue will goes to Karnataka. This is very important examination point. Now that we have understand the meaning of GST, let's discuss the different types of GST in India. One of the most common examination question, how many GST types are there? The answer is 4. Let's understand each one with a simple example. Very first, CGST, that is levied by the central government. Second, SGST, it's levied by state government. Third, IGST, it is levied by the central government. UTGST, which is levied by the Union Territory Administration through the center. And how these GSTs work? So here we have very quick rule. If the supply is within the same state, then CGST and SGST will be applicable. If the supply is within the same union territory, then CGST and UTGST will be applicable. If the supply is between different state, then IGST will be applicable. How it works? So we have used a very simple examples for the calculation of this GST. So very first, if it is intra-state supply, if intra-state supply मतलब होता है विद इन द स्टेट, एक ही स्टेट के अंदर आपका सप्लाई हो रहा है तो वहां पर CGST और SGST एप्लीकेबल होगा. एग्जाम्पल के तौर पे हमने लिया है कि हमारा जो टैक्स रेट है दैट इज 18%। ओके, सो 18% टैक्स रेट है, तो सीजीएसटी आपका हो जाएगा 9% और एसजीएसटी हो जाएगा आपका 9%। 10,000 का गुड्स है, इसका 9% से आप निकालोगे 900, सीजीएसटी 900, एसजीएसटी, so total GST will become 18,000. So tax invoice amount will become 11,800. Now the same goods, if we are doing for interstate supply, so IGST will be applicable. The IGST का जो रेट होता है वो GST के रेट से सिमिलर होता है। सो IGST विल बी 18%। देखो 18% का GST रेट है, बट अगर वो इंटर स्टेट है तो वहां पर IGST एप्लीकेबल होगा 18%, बट अगर वो विद इन स्टेट है तो वहां पे CGST और SGST एप्लीकेबल होता है 9%। 10,000 गुड्स का वैल्यू हो गया, 1,800 आपका GST का वैल्यू हो गया, टोटल GST 1,800, इनवॉइस अमाउंट 11,800, दोनों भी केस में। ठीक है, सो आई होप जो है आपको ये टाइप्स ऑफ GST समझ में आया होगा, किस तरह से इसको एप्लीकेबल करते हैं। Now that we know the different types of GST, let's understand one of the most important concept in the GST, that is input tax credit, tax liability and tax payable. This is one of the most important topic in GST. Many students find it confusing initially, but after this example you will be able to understand it very easily. Let's assume you are a retailer and you have purchased goods worth rupees 1 lakh and paid the GST at the time of purchase these goods at the rate of 18%, the amounted to rupees 18,000. आपने एक गुड्स परचेज किया जिसका वैल्यू था 1 लाख और आपने 18% का वहां पर GST पे किया है, अमाउंटेड टू रुपीज 18,000. सो दिस 18,000 विल बिकम इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट. सेम गुड्स 1 लाख का जो है उसका आपने 1,50,000 में सोल्ड किया. At the time of selling, again 18% GST applicable होगा. So GST will become 27,000. This 27 will be known as output tax liability. अब आपको गवर्नमेंट को कितना पे करना है? So the formula will become tax payable is equal to output tax liability minus input tax credit. Output tax liability आपका ये 27,000 है, minus input tax credit ये आपका 18,000. So 27,000 minus 18,000, so 9,000 will be net GST deposit to गवर्नमेंट. सिंपल सा. आउटपुट टैक्स जो है जब आपने परचेज किया उस वक्त आपने कुछ अमाउंट जीएसटी का पे किया है, वो अमाउंट आप माइनस कर दोगे आउटपुट टैक्स लायबिलिटी में से और द रिमेनिंग अमाउंट जो रहेगा वो आप पे करोगे. सो इसका मतलब क्या हो रहा है कि देखिए यहाँ पे आपने क्या किया, 1 लाख का गुड्स था उसको 1,50,000 में सोल्ड किया, मतलब आपने 50,000 रुपीज क्या किया यहाँ पे इंक्रीज किया है वैल्यू. तो वैल्यू जितना ऐड हुआ 50,000 का वैल्यू ऐड हुआ है. 50,000 पे अगर आपने 18% निकाला तो वो होता है 9,000. तो आप सिर्फ 9,000 ही पे करोगे. 18,000 क्या होगा, आपने जिससे परचेज किया था वो पे करेगा. तो गवर्नमेंट को जो है वो टोटल 27,000 रुपीज रिसीव होगा ये पूरे ट्रांजेक्शन में. क्यों ऐसा किया गया है? दिस सिस्टम ensure that the tax is paid only on the value added, avoiding double taxation. If these examples help you understand the input tax credit, then please type ITC understood in the comment below. I would love to know if this explanation made the concept easier for you. And if you are enjoying this lecture, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to channel. Your support motivates me to create more high quality lectures. Now let's move to the next slide. Now that we have understood the basic concept of GST and how input tax credit works, let's discuss the key features of GST. These are very important from the examination point of view because questions are frequently asked in the examinations like CA Foundation, CMA, CS, UGC NET. Let's understand each features one by one. Very first, it says one nation, one tax. GST has replaced multiple indirect taxes and created uniform tax system across the India. It is destination based tax. So tax is collected at the place of consumption, not at the place of production. It is value added tax. So GST is levied only on the value addition at each stage. It provides ITC. So ITC can be claimed on eligible input and input services. Elimination of cascading effect. So GST allow ITC at every stage, thus the elimination of tax on tax cascading and reduce the cost of goods and services. Uniform tax structure. GST provide a common tax structure rules and regulation across the India. So digital compliances are there, transparent, and it is applicable on supply of goods and services. So in short, we can say GST is comprehensive destination based value added tax on supply of goods and services, which ensure uniformity, transparency and ease of doing business across the India. Now that we have completed all the important concepts of today's lecture, let's move to the final slide and quickly recap everything we learned today before ending the session. Before we conclude today's lecture, let's take 2 minutes to revise the concept. A quick revision strengthens your understanding and helps you remember the concept and during the examinations. Very first, meaning of tax. We have learned that tax is a compulsory financial contribution imposed by the government to finance public expenditure and national development. The difference between direct and indirect tax: direct tax is paid by the taxpayer and cannot be shifted, whereas indirect tax is paid by the consumer and it is shifted. Why the GST was introduced? To remove multiple taxes, elimination of cascading effect, creation of uniform tax structure, and make India common national market. The evolution of GST from 2003 to 2017. The meaning of GST, and it is a destination based tax. Types of GST we have learned: CGST, SGST, IGST, UTGST, and application of this system. Then the input tax credit and the tax liability and the formula for tax payable. So the final key takeaway, we can say the GST has simplified India's indirect tax system, removed cascading effect, promoted transparency and ease of doing business, and strengthened the economy. That brings us to the end of today's lecture. I hope you now have a clear understanding of fundamentals of GST. If you found this lecture helpful, please like this video and share it with your classmates and friends. If you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe to Dr. Riyazul Haque and press the bell icon to stay updated with upcoming lectures on GST, income tax, accounting, financial management, and UGC NET. Also join our WhatsApp channel for notes, MCQs, updates, and study materials. If you have any questions, write them in the comment sections. I always enjoy reading your feedbacks and answering your doubts. Thank you so much for watching. Take care, keep learning, keep growing, and I will see you in the next lecture.